Alright guys, welcome to this page of the notes. Now what we're going to do is we just got done talking about the greatest integer function, and now we're going to go ahead and get some practice. Here is my greatest integer function of y equals f of x, whatever, same thing, y or f of x, is equal to, and there's my double bracket x, the greatest integer function. Now my definition said that the y value, right, the function is equal to the greatest integer less than or equal to the value of x. So here we go, here's my first one. I want you to find the greatest integer, using the greatest integer function, of 2. Well, I plug a 2 into my greatest integer function, and I need the greatest integer less than or equal to 2. Well, of course, 2 is equal to 2, so that's going to be my value. Right? I'm going to plug in a 2. That's what I get. 2.5. Well, I need the greatest integer less than or equal to 2.5. Well, the greatest integer that is less, because 2.5 is not an integer, but the greatest integer that's less than 2.5 is again 2. So two things, if I do 2, if I do 2.5, if I do 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, all of those are going to go back to a value of 2. Right, which is why maybe you can now kind of picture we're going to get a series of horizontal line segments for our graph. The next one, 3.25. Well, the greatest integer less than or equal to 3.25 is 3. Pi. Pi is 3.14. The greatest integer less than or equal to 3.14, again, is 3. Let me scroll up so you can see these. Couple more for you here, and then we'll go ahead and try graphing one of these guys. Now I have the greatest integer less than or equal to 1.9999. Right? 1. You got to go back to 1. 1 is the greatest integer that is less than or equal to that. A negative 1. Careful here, all right? Now that we're in negative numbers, remember, all right? When you're in the negative side, anything to the right of your negative number is actually bigger, and anything to the left is actually smaller, right? That's the way the negative numbers work. So I need the greatest integer less than or equal to a negative 1. Well, negative 1 is an integer, so it will be equal to itself. But what about a negative 1.23? Careful here. I'm at negative 1.23, and I need the greatest integer that is less than or equal to a negative 1.23. Well, it's not an integer, so it's going to be something else. And the greatest integer that is less than a negative 1.23 is a minus 2. Be careful. If you said minus 1, negative 1 is actually bigger than 1.23. If I draw this on a number line, there's 0, there's 1.23, there's minus 1. Well, I'm sorry, holy moly, what am I doing? My bad, flip those, there we go. Hang on, switch where these are at. Yikes, I'm screwing up my number line. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Alright, there we go. Negative 1, there it is. And then we'll put negative 2 like way down over here. There's negative 2. And here's my negative 1.23. Alright, so here's what I've got, right? Here's 0, negative 1, there's my negative 1.23, and over here's negative 2. Now, I want the greatest integer that is less than or equal to a negative 1.23. Well, I know if I go to a negative 1, that is actually a bigger number, right? Because I'm getting closer to 0. To be less than a negative 1.23, I've got to go back to the next integer, which actually would be minus 2. So please be very careful when you're dealing with negative numbers like this one, negative 4.6. You've got to go back to minus 5. Switch to red. If you did minus 4, that's actually a bigger number. Minus 5 is less than. Negative 4.99. Again, you're going back to negative 5. That is less than a negative 4.99. All right, so that's the way the greatest integer function works. Now that we've tried a few of these, we'll flip over to the next page and we'll work on graphing it. I'll see you there.